Back on the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger. Well, you know there's no bigger expert on college football, a guy that every year comes out with his preseason poll and never puts Alabama at the top just because he knows what it'll do to all the Bammers out there. He is our man, former boss, good friend, Fox Sports' own Tim Brando. Timmy, what's up, my friend?
I'm wonderful and enjoying this conversation with you from the depths of the hot tub at Chateau Brando.
Wait. I mean,
let me get the air blowers going here.
Walking outside is like being in a hot tub. Why are you in a hot tub and when it's 111 degrees outside?
Well, because when I go in the pool and I do the Nestle plunge, it will feel cooler in my 95-degree pool water if I do the 111-degree hot tub after working out. I did the workout today. Club's closed, so I did the workout today.
Okay.
We can't, as we like to say in my age bracket, before we take the leave and our bodies get totally stove up. Remember that term?
Right.
Stove up?
Yeah.
We have to get in the hot tub first.
I understand.
And then the pool.
I understand. When you're old, that's what you have to do, Timmy. That's just the way
you got to do what you got to do.
That's
I'm
right.
still younger than Buster, by the way.
That is something. All right, Timmy. It is almost time. It is almost time for, as you always like to say, toe to meat pigskin, and it is about to go off. First of all, before we talk about kind of college football at large, what's your early season schedule look like?
It's a dandy. It's a dandy schedule, and you'll love it because as a play-by-play broadcaster, you know there's nothing quite like familiarity in your schedule if you're doing someone besides a home team.
Sure.
So if you get a couple of teams twice in the first month, that's always a good thing, especially when they're quality teams, and that's true with the Big Ten. I've got two teams twice. I open. This is another great thing. There's a glut of games on the 30th, the 31st, I beg your pardon. A glut of games on that Saturday, just a gazillion games. And like you, I'd like to watch them all if I could.
Sure.
And I can because I'm doing a Friday game to open the season in East Lansing. I think there's one other game at Wisconsin. I think there's a Big Ten, USF Wisconsin game on ESPN that night, and Spencer and I will have Tulsa, the Golden Hurricane, up at East Lansing to take on Michigan State. That's week one. I believe our game maybe starts an hour ahead of the Wisconsin game. So, in other words, there's less competition, so possibly a few more eyeballs. If you're not at a high school game, there's a chance that more people could possibly tune in and watch your game.
Yeah.
Week two, we go to State College, Pennsylvania for a whiteout. I'm sure it'll be a whiteout because nothing will strike fear in the hearts of men in Happy Valley than Lance Leipold's Buffalo team.
Gotta love them.
Coming in to play Penn State. How about that?
I just wish they had the QB back.
In week two, how about that?
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I think they're picked preseason number 2 or number 3 in the MAC. So they're a good team, and Penn State's got questions at quarterback. So we'll have Penn State on Saturday night, September the 8th. They're in prime time. You know, the big noon kickoff is the big deal at Fox this year, and Gus and Joel are primarily going to be working all the noon games or the 11 o'clock games Central Time. So that means most of my games will either be in prime time or mid-afternoon on Fox.
Nice.
Which is the case week 3 when we go back to East Lansing for Arizona State, Michigan State. I think that's a whale of it. Herman Edwards and the Sun Devils, that may be one of the silver lining stories really in the Pac-12 is that team.
And you get to see homeboy Kevin Mawai.
Yeah, he's on the staff working with them and helping that offensive line. He's a consultant, I think now. I think he's on his way to becoming an assistant coach there. But he can travel, so I know I'll get to see him, so I'm excited about that. But Herman's a good friend. I've known him forever and actually called a few of his games when he was the Jets coach. So looking forward to that. And then the following week is the 21st. I'm not sure where I'll be that week, but as I look at the schedule, the potential is there that we could go potential is we could go to Fort Worth and see TCU, but it hasn't been confirmed as yet. But the following week, I go back to Friday night. We already know which game we've got. That Friday night, the 27th, it's, I think, a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Penn State at Maryland.
There you go.
With Loxley in his first year trying to turn that thing around. And you know what? They could be a neat little story this year. Most people think Maryland could be in real trouble. I'm hearing good things about what Loxley's got going on, and let's say they have won a couple of games and are feeling good about themselves, and Penn State still got these issues at quarterback. It's a road game for the Nittany Lions, and that's a Friday night game. I'm excited about that. So we know 4 of our first 5 weeks.
Beautiful.
I'm just not sure what we have week 4.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking it could be the TCU SMU game, but we'll see.
Timmy, you do not only do you do a lot of Big Ten, you do a lot of Pac-12 as well, and I'm curious. You know, there was
Big 12.
There was talk about, you know, kind of a couple of weeks ago. There was a lot of talk about, hey, maybe the Pac-12 should start playing morning games, you know, like 9 a.m. on the West Coast, so they could get more eyeballs on them from the East Coast. Is that something that you think the Pac-12 needs to consider?
Sure. And let me tell you how this came up. I found this out while I was at our seminar at Terranea Resort out in Rancho Palos Verdes. It's amazing.
Well, sure. It's got to be an ocean or a mountain, Timmy.
40 miles north of LAX. I mean, you swear you were. It really. If you go to my Instagram page, you'll see some pictures I took. It looks like the Monterey Peninsula. I mean, it is that beautiful.
Yeah, and by the way, Timmy, look, if you're going to go to my Instagram page, you also have to drop your handle. That's Timmy B on Fox.
That's
on
at
Instagram.
Timmy B on Fox.
Yeah, there
right.
you go.
That's
So make sure
Timmy
you
B
always drop
Fox.
your handle, Timmy.
As opposed to at Tim Brando on Twitter. But
there you go.
But yeah, there's some beautiful pics there, and you'll see how gorgeous it is. But I was talking with our guys because this story was about that week. It was about 2 weeks ago when we were out there. And apparently at the Pac-12 media days, or not media days, but at their meetings, the Pac-12 meetings that they had, some of our brass was there along with a couple of our announcers. I know Joel was out there. I'm not sure who else. But anyway, Larry Scott apparently brought this up himself to our guys and said, hey, you know, you guys are having this big noon kickoff and putting all this emphasis on that noon window. Why wouldn't you consider us for that? And I think our guys were kind of like, well, you know, it is 9 a.m. out here.
Right.
You know? And it's 10 a.m. And he says, well, yeah, I think, well, why wouldn't Colorado play? You know, so I think this was really brought on. This story became a story because Larry Scott wanted it to be a story.
Yeah.
Not because I think there was a feeling out there that maybe Fox, as a way of promoting its big noon kickoff, was trying to get the Pac-12 to maybe do this, and it was just the opposite. It was the Pac-12 trying to say, hey, you know.
Yeah, we want in on this action too.
Yeah, we don't want the Big Ten to just take all of this. You know, we'd like to get involved. And you know what, Patrick? I think it makes a lot of sense. The league is struggling financially. Their network is still not seen anywhere, or most places anyway, unless you're in a Pac-12, maybe in Eugene and maybe in Corvallis. But, I mean, in the major markets out west, they can't get that. The distribution for their conference network channel is just not there.
Yeah.
So the combination of that and then their games on so late at night means that their teams get overlooked. And there was a big brouhaha last year between some of the people at ESPN and Coach Peterson at Washington, if you recall.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to do a little public relations makeover to some extent, and this would be a way of doing that. And honestly, if you had a game between Chip Kelly made a great point. He says, well, I wouldn't mind playing at 9 o'clock. Our teams practice at 7 a.m. every morning. So what's the big deal? If you've ever gone out to Stanford in early September for a game, and I mean against a good opponent, let's say they played Northwestern out there early this year. Now, you watch. They'll play in prime time probably, or I think it's close to prime time. And the building there at the farm will be half full. I mean, they don't draw.
Yeah.
The kids are are rocket scientists, and the alumni base is not as strong, and it's a berries and cream crowd anyway. I mean, if UCLA were playing Stanford at the game were at 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't think it would impact their gate any. They don't draw well anyway.
Well, they'll just run by Starbucks, get a double espresso, maca laka rama chamalama, and head on out there.
Yeah, and I think if let's say you're Colorado and you're in the Mountain Time Zone, that's a 10 o'clock start.
Yeah.
I got no issues at all with that. Now, I think if you're in Eugene or Corvallis, and so many of your fans, it's a rural area, and a lot of your fans have to drive long distances, then it's not workable. That's not good. But if you're in a major metropolitan area, and basically Stanford is it's outside San Francisco, so Palo Alto is a suburb basically, or if you're in Tinseltown and Pasadena. Or if you're in Colorado and Boulder's only an hour from Denver, why wouldn't you consider it? And probably because if your game is better than anything else that's on at that hour, and by and large they are, most of the games that are being shown are second-tier games on ESPN and the networks. Why wouldn't you go ahead and do that?
Yeah.
I think it would be a very wise choice for them to do that. In certain places, not everywhere, but in certain places.
Talking to our man Tim Brando from Fox Sports. Timmy, big news was made by our friends at the Independence Bowl this past week. We talked to Art Carmody. Title sponsor Walk-Ons is out after this year. The bowl affiliations are still in flux right now. We're expecting to hear something on that in the next couple of weeks. Tell me kind of your feeling. I feel better about it because at least we know about it earlier than the last time when they went and got walk-ons. At least we know about this a little bit earlier. But, a lot of it's going to depend on what the bowl affiliations are. What are your thoughts on our friends over at the Indy Bowl right now?
Well, the typical doom and gloom sayers of our hometown, oh my God, is this the end? No, it's not the end. And I would ask any of those that are being overly critical to check the different sponsorship changes of every other stinking bowl that's out there, other than the college football playoff or the New Year's Six bowls. They change routinely, okay? It's hard to keep up with how many times they change. From the farmer's market to the Bitcoin, you name it, okay? They change everywhere. So it's not as big of a deal as you'd like to think. The other thing is that the walk-ons isn't going away completely. They're going to continue to be a partner and continue to be a sponsor of sorts, just not a title sponsor. I'm not at all surprised that Brandon Landry and company would be doing this. They're looking to expand their horizons and their brand at walk-ons. And the best way to do that is by trying to get attention in marketplaces that matter to them. And with the loss of both the SEC and the ACC, that is the primary expansion area right now for walk-ons.
Sure.
Just after Florida State was here, all of a sudden there's a walk-ons that opens in Tallahassee, and so on and so forth. That's what they had in mind. And when you lose that affiliation, or the ACC doesn't present a team and the SEC doesn't present a team, and the SEC more oftentimes than not didn't, then he's losing some steam from his investments. So I would not be shocked at all if we saw something very similar to what happened a few years ago when Richard Wright, who was in charge of AdvoCare, said, you know what, we're going to pony up. This is what we want to do. Blah, 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 blah. And then, we hotel motel tax failed. Remember that?
Yeah.
They didn't get it done. And he said, okay, well, guess what? They decided to be the title sponsor in Houston of that bowl game. I think that Brandon Landry's probably thinking globally. And I would suggest to you that there is a chance that he would take walk-ons to another bowl game, wherever he believes it can grow his brand. This is a business.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the business that these guys are in. Now, let me say this also, and I think it's important for everyone to understand. In his world, with a bar with great food, you want to have a year's worth of advertising on ESPN. They control those bars. I think he loves being on ESPN, and that there was no way that game was going to get moved to another network, because if the title sponsor is a sports bars can't exist without, all the different platforms that ESPN has.
Yeah.
So he wanted to stay there. Now, I'm a strong proponent of the bowl game growing and understanding that there's a marketplace to get you off the dreaded December 26th at noon kickoff time.
Yeah.
Or the December 26th, 3:30 kickoff time. And, when the television rights come available again, and they will, I guess maybe in another handful of years, I think ESPN right now is in good stead with the bowl, and I think they're helping them try to procure the Pac-12 on one side of their new deal. And I think a cobble of other conferences from the Group of Five, Conference USA, Sun Belt, and the American, which I think is a hell of a league, with a lot of teams that have regional interest here. If you got Houston or you got Memphis, you got Southern Mississippi, you got teams that could come from, could drive to this game. That's good for the bowl business here. We need teams coming from a league that you could possibly have fans drive in from. And that'd be true with Conference USA, Sun Belt, and the American.
Yeah.
So if they're on the opposite side of the Pac-12 and they can get the Pac-12 locked up for, say, 2 to 3 years, then I think that the bowl will be in fine shape. It'll probably stay right where it is on ESPN and be in great shape. But it's a constant juggle of making sure that the bowl sponsorship and your TV partner cohabitate and are in good stead, that they're moving along swimmingly. If they're fine together, then you're in great shape. If you get it screwed up somehow and those two are at odds and the two aren't working together, then there's the potential of an issue out there. And
yeah.
I don't think anyone here wants to see ESPN swoop in and buy this bowl game away.
Right.
I don't see that happening, and I think they own, 14 games now?
A ton of them.
It's a bunch of them. So I think the Independence Bowl is still on pretty strong footing. I think that Walk-Ons is a quality brand that they'll have for another full year. I don't think that they're going to suddenly stop caring, because I think they're in the business of trying to impress if they want to continue to grow their brand elsewhere. And as I said, no one's mentioned it, but I fully expect them to potentially be another sponsor of another bowl game wherever their company plan has them going next. They want to maintain an SEC and ACC tie-in.
Yeah,
if they
that's their footprint
somehow, some way.
Yeah. Timmy, last thing, because I promised our boss man Greg that I would ask you this. Are you showing up to GeekCon this weekend? You headed out to the convention center to check out Michael Rooker and LeVar Burton and Trish Stratus and Lori Petty and all the comic book authors and Dragon Ball Z voices. You heading out there this weekend? That in the Timmy B wheelhouse?
No, I don't think so. No, I think I'll be teeing it up this weekend.
Yep.
Trying to enjoy both Saturday and Sunday while I still have them and I'm not on the road. No, I'm going to miss the GeekCon.
Okay.
They'll have to do without me over there.
Okay, well they'll do their best, I guess. They'll try to survive. Timmy, as always, brother, much appreciated, and enjoy the hot tub. Even though it's 111 degrees outside, I'm not sure why anyone would want to be in anything warm, but enjoy it, my friend, and try not to get stove up.
It's all about the streaming water. That's the key. Got to keep the water streaming.
You got to do it, my friend. Have a good one, brother. That's Timmy B. Tim Brando, Fox Sports.